Hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on what time you're watching this video. And as usual, this is Teacher Kent, and today we're gonna talk about living things and their environment. So, are you ready? Let's start. I'm gonna share my video so that everybody can see what I'm talking about. Let me just make my face a little bigger. Good. Now, living things and the environment. But before we get to that, we must first learn what is a habitat. Again, what is a habitat? Do you know? It's actually in your book. So let's see what your book talks about. A habitat is the home of an organism. So, a habitat is a home of an organism. Your next question is, what is an organism? Don't worry, I'm here to explain that too. An organism is a living thing. Any living thing, not just animals, but also plants and human beings. In your book, we have something that we call adaptation. Again, in your book, we have something that we call adaptation. Now, what is adaptation? An adaptation are specialized structures and characteristics that organisms develop in order to survive an environment. Again, an adaptation are specialized structures and characteristics that organisms develop in order to survive an environment. Now, in simple terms, an adaptation is how animals manage to survive in their current environment. If you don't understand, don't worry. I will show you in more detail later. But first, what is an environment? I said that adaptation is how animals manage to survive in their new environment. So, what is an environment? Well, an environment is a whole or or a particular geographic area. For example, a forest. Now, so that you will not be confused, habitat and environment, they're not basically the same. They're not the same. They are different. For example, let's say an environment is a forest in Thailand because it's a particular geographic area. The habitat of an animal is, for example, a tree. What animal lives in a tree? There are so many. There are birds. But I'll give you a proper example. How about a monkey? A monkey is an organism. An organism lives in a habitat. In this case, the habitat is the tree. And where is the environment? In the habitat, it's in a forest in Thailand. That is the difference between environment and habitat. An environment is a specific place. A habitat is more of a home where the animal lives. And what about the animal's adaptation? What is an adaptation, by the way? That's what I told you before. It's how animals survive in that environment. In this case, the animal being the monkey, what is the monkey's adaptation to survive in a forest? Well, we know that in a forest there are many things that could harm or kill an organism, any animal. So, what does the monkey do? The monkey learned how to sleep and swing in the trees because they know in the trees there are less animals that will come and kill them, or less animals that will come and eat them. That is how a monkey managed to survive in the tree. That's how a monkey adapted. Okay, do you understand? In specifically, some monkeys, they use their tails. The tails hold on to the branches. They don't need to use their hands and their feet. In that way, the tails acts as like a third arm of a monkey. Now, I will show you an example of an environment. This one. What environment is this? This is a desert. Now, class, let me explain something very quickly. This is not just, this is not the only desert, okay? Would you believe me if I say a desert is also something like those found in Antarctica? Because the definition of a desert is that it's a barren place. It doesn't need to be very hot. It can be very cold also. So this is a sand desert, a dry desert. Now, this is the environment. Let's say this is somewhere in the United States. What animal do you think lives in the desert? Let's see. Oh, not just the animal, but a plant, specifically a cactus. A cactus is an animal that, no, sorry, a cactus is a plant that was able to live specifically in the desert. They were able to live in a place where there is little or no water. How did they do it? They adapted. A cactus doesn't need as much water as other plants in order to grow. In fact, if you pour a lot of water into a cactus, the tendency is the cactus might die because the cactus can drown if there is too much water. Some people say that if you get lost in a desert, you can find a cactus and get water from it. It's true, but there's only two or three specific cactus that you can cut and you can drink the water from. But all other cactuses, you can't drink the water from them because they adapted to the environment. Some cactus don't even have much water in them. They can survive many days without any water. We're finished with the animals. Let's go with the plant. Sorry, we're finished with the plants. Let's go with the animals. This one right here is what we call a scorpion. The scorpion adapted to the environment. The scorpion, though, if it's exposed by too much heat, the scorpion might die. So, sorry. So, why do you think, or how do you think the scorpion adapts to the environment? Look at the scorpion. Believe it or not, the scorpion finds a cool place to burrow under the ground or inside a rock. And their skin is very hard for an animal. It's so hard that it deflects most of the heat and the light from the desert. So you can't find a scorpion in, let's say, Antarctica or North Pole or South Pole because the scorpion will die. Its body is able to reflect the heat of the sun. That's why they were able to live in the desert. The next animal I'm going to show you is the perfect example of how an animal adapted to a environment. This is what we know as a camel. Now, look at the picture of the camel. Do you see the two humps at the front and the back? Those are actually full of water. The camels, they drink a lot of water and they store it in those humps. People say that the main reason why they have two humps is because the camel adapted to the humans that are always riding on the back of the camel. So the humps grew in separate places, left and right, just enough space in the middle for a human to sit down. Because the people that live in the desert, they use camels as a means of moving from place to place. Did you understand? Don't worry, I've got some more examples. Another environment we're going today is this is what we call a swamp. A swamp is a place where there's a lot of water and there's also a lot of land and lots of plants. So it's not a sea, it's not the land because the land has many land. It has water. It's not also the sea because there's a lot of trees. So it's a swamp. What animals do you think survive in the swamp? Or what plants and animals? Let's go with the plants first. This one is called a mangrove. A mangrove is a special type of plant. It can live in the swamp. And not just that, if you look at the picture, they are very thin and they have many roots. The roots are there to hold all the sand in place so that they will not be washed away by the water. That's a mangrove. And believe it or not, that's their adapt that's how they adapt to the circumstance. But because there is mangrove in the swamp, many animals also adapted to the mangrove. This animal, the alligator. The alligator, they like to live in swamps, especially inside mangrove trees because they can hide. They don't need to be scared and they can wait for the next prey to come by and then they can just jump and eat the prey. This one is special. This is a turtle. Now, there's a turtle and a tortoise. There are two different animals, turtle and tortoise. The tortoise, they live on land. They cannot live near water. Unlike the turtle can live in water. And turtle and tortoise, the two of them, they like to hatch many eggs. Why do they make many eggs? Because only little will survive. So they have to make many eggs. So how does the turtle survive? They put their eggs inside or near the mangrove so that no animal will go and find it there except the alligator. But most of the time, alligators don't see them because they hide their eggs beneath the water. So that's how the turtles can break open and go out, and they are not afraid of being eaten, or their risk of being eaten is only little. And that's how animals adapt. Let's go to another. We still have two more biomes or environments. Under the sea. Under the sea. What animal do you think and plants live under the sea? I showed you a picture already. But let's go ahead and say this animal. Yes, this is an animal. This is not a plant. This is coral. Corals are classified as animals. But corals, they need clean water to survive. If you see a coral that has many colors, it means that the water there is dirty. But don't be afraid, the corals come and help the animals that live in the sea. Like this one, the jellyfish. The jellyfish adapted to living in the sea by evolving to look like a piece of plastic. You see, if you see a jellyfish, you would think it's plastic, but the jellyfish can sting you. It can hurt you if you get too close to it. That's how it adapted to living in the water. Making itself look like plastic means that less animals will eat it, and it has a means to kill animals and eat them as well. Finally, the most important animal that adapted to living under the ocean, it's the fish. The fish are able to adapt and live underwater. They don't need to go up out of the water to get air. They have gills, and their bodies, if you notice, it's slim. It's not very fat, it's slim, so that they can swim very, very fast, even in water. Did you understand? That's enough for today. We'll continue next time. Bye.